All right, I've got an email here about whether or not you should grind versus living the life how you want, right? Should you do that, the grind, enjoy the grind, love the grind, all that kind of stuff? Or should you be, life is short. You should live the life that you want right now. What's the point of doing all this grinding? When do you actually get to enjoy life, right? These are questions that I have contemplated deeply, and I'm still contemplating, right? And we should be contemplating these questions. So I'm going to just go through this email, and we're going to break things down here. I got an email from someone that was asking this exact question. So he said here, "Hey John, I heard you talk about ideas for videos and questions you have received by email before, so I figured I would give it a shot." All right, well, hey, your shot worked, all right? He said, "I don't remember you having a video on the subject, but I think about it a couple of times a week. Oftentimes, I feel like I'm not living the life I want. I work really hard. I often let my work completely take over my life. I go above and beyond to deliver on projects and make customers happy. I try my best to be a 10x developer compared to my coworkers. It took me a long time, but now I'm at mid six figures while others in this market and area of the country are 60 to 90K. Okay, so that's good. All right, so he's made some progress here. He says, I think about all the time I'm putting in. My attempts to be better and someday, hopefully soon, to reach a financial freedom number. I think about what I will do when I'm finally able to retire. The best answer I have come up with so far is just work out, run a marathon, be a degenerate gamer, maybe stream, maybe have a dog, maybe get a girlfriend again. However, it raises a question, why can't you do those things now? I simply feel that I don't have enough time, and I will continue to grind until I feel I can be free to live life however I want. I understand I could die tomorrow and never get there. I often feel like I make large sacrifices and ultimately may get me nowhere just so I can feel like I didn't let others down, / I delivered. And I'll just go through the whole email here. He says, what is your opinion on this grind versus obligation versus living life how you want? What do you think of people who choose to be a, quote, loser and are happy doing so, like Asmongold? If you don't know, Asmongold is a streamer on YouTube, and he I think he originally was playing World of Warcraft, but he's a pretty cool guy. Like he's got some interesting takes and videos and stuff. And the people who see a lifestyle like him as basically living the dream. If you're not familiar with who he is, he's a World of Warcraft streamer who lives like an animal, just games all day, ignores any responsibility or problems in his life until they ultimately just go away. He seems to live life how he wants and not give a shit about what others think about his choices or the consequences. Thanks, Mitch. All right, so here's a couple of things, Mitch. First of all, Mitch, I wish I had this 100% figured out myself. I can't tell you that I do, but you asked about, is it worth it, right? Why do this grind so that you can someday live how you want, right? It reminds me of the story which I've been talking about pretty recently about the Mexican fisher, right? The guy that goes down to Mexico and he meets this Mexican fisher and he's talking to him, and the guy's talking about how, he caught enough fish for the day, so he's going home to hang out with his wife and, and enjoy his life or whatever. And the guy's like, "What? Why would you just stop at noon? Why don't you keep on fishing? You could get more fish. You could sell some of them." Basically the story goes on to the point where he talks about how you could get a whole charter fishing fleet, and eventually you could build this company, and then you could sell this company one day and have enough money to retire in some little Mexican fishing village and fish all day and hang out with your wife and play guitar, right? And so, the point of the story is that the Mexican fisherman's like, hey, that's what I'm already doing. Why would I go through all of that stuff and all that headache and hassle when I'm already living that life, like just to get back here? And so it's important to think about this, right? Now, that story in reality that's not really how things work. It's not quite that black and white, but it gets you thinking. And that's the point of that, right? And I've been thinking the same thing lately, to be honest with you, right? As I have stated on this channel about getting rid of the marketing and talking about, just I hate marketing and I'm sick of this kind of thing. I realized that what I really want to do is what I'm doing right now, right? I really want to open up an email, not worry about saying the right things for YouTube and not worry about having the right topic and not worry about these things and just talk about these subjects. Just talk to the camera. Just have a good time thinking about philosophy, thinking about mindset, working on myself and sharing that. That's what I want to do. And coaching people, helping people to improve their lives, transform their lives, having interesting conversations with people, right? Those are the things that I really enjoy doing and that I want to do. And so why can't I just do those things, right? And so that is actually the decision that I'm making, but it's not an easy one because I can't let go of the grind so easy. Okay, and not only is it that I can't let go of the grind, right? But I have also, I'm also not grinding as hard as I could because my heart's not in it, right? And so, so anyway, I'm not going to really go too much into that right now. Maybe we'll retouch on this a little bit later in the video. But I want to just address this idea, right? Because this is really important. This is like really important stuff, right? If you think about this, because you spend a lot of your life in the grind, right? I mean, the stuff I teach guys about financial freedom, and I've got my coaching program, my Well That Never Runs Dry program, and in that program, right, I'm teaching guys how to build a business and invest in real estate, and we've got like a 7-year plan, like a 5-year, 7-year, 10-year plan that you're doing. By the way, if you're interested in that at all, you can shoot me a message on Instagram at Bulldog Mindset, and we could talk about that. That's I'm not going to try to plug that hard in this video, but it is a really good program, and I do get I have a lot of fun doing it and teaching guys in that program. And if you're trying to do the kind of things that I have done in life and retire early and stuff like that and build your financial freedom, it's certainly something that I think if you can afford it, it makes a lot of sense to do because you're going to get some help doing exactly what I did. So enough about that. Let's talk about this idea though. So so where I was going with this was that, look, you've got to really think about this problem, right? You got to really think about this because is it true, right? There's a really good book called Die with Zero. Okay, I read that book a couple years ago, and it had a pretty good impact on me. The concept of the book is that you should really maximize your life, right? And this is a concept that I've had for a while, and maybe this is really an answer to this question for you, even though it's not a complete answer. But the idea is this: is that if you're optimally living your life, you should get the maximum utility out of the resources that you generate, or let's say the money that you create. And so you should spend a certain amount of time earning money and then a certain amount of time spending that money, right? And it should sort of change throughout your life. Now, this would work as a perfect model if you knew exactly how long you're going to live, because then you could, optimize the variables and be like, okay, well, the first X number of years of my life, I'm going to just work on building up money, and then I'm going to spend it, the rest of the X years of my life. However, there's other problems with this model, which is that typically the value of money or experience is more so when you're younger. Right? You can do more things when you're younger, when you're more physically able. If you have money, if you have time when you're younger, it's more valuable. Unfortunately, compounding, right? So a lot of making money and building things requires time, right? So there's this, balance of the two that you sort of have to figure out. So coming back to this question, right? Does it make sense to grind it out, and what do you do after you retire? So first of all, let's talk about, does it make sense to embrace the grind and whatnot? I say that it does. All right. However, there is another path, right? So let's talk about the how it does path. So the it does path basically is the idea that, look, if you really want to become financially free, if you really want to be successful in life, and you want to have a pretty much guaranteed path to that, you need a plan, right? That's why, again, not to harp on the program, but in my Well That Never Runs Dry program, the first thing I do is have you create use a spreadsheet to calculate your financial freedom number and exactly how long it will take you, so that you're using real numbers and you say, all right, I need to have this amount of money or this amount of passive income. Here's the money I'm making now. Here's what I could save and invest. And then here's how long it would take, using actual numbers of compounding that through real estate investment. That's the primary vehicle that I use, right? And so you can adjust that. If you're like, oh, well, this is going to take me 15 years, you could say, well, if I build a business and that business makes me $20K a month at some point here in the next few years, which is an achievable goal, then I could accelerate that to 5 years or 7 years or whatever it comes down to. So the point is, though, you've got a plan, right? And so you're not going to just accidentally become financially free or accidentally become rich, right? If you work hard at your job, if you make the right choices, it's still not likely to happen, right? In order to really become financially free, you're probably, and again, I'm telling you this because I did it myself and because I work with guys on a daily basis to help them do this. And I coaching clients that I coach. And like I said, I do this well program and I'm constantly dealing with this. You basically need two things, all right? You need to be able to make enough money, which probably means building a business. Because unless you're a lawyer making $1 million a year, like a really high-powered lawyer, or you have a job, I would say if you have a job that you're making $500,000 a year plus, then you don't need a business. But otherwise, you probably need a business because a business will allow you to make $500,000 a year, $1 million a year, right? And it's not, I have to be careful with the language here, but it's not that hard. It's easier to build a business that makes $1 million a year than it is to work for 15 years at a corporate job. Let's put it that way, all right? And it'll be faster to do the business thing and probably more enjoyable, but it'll also be more scary. and you'll also have to focus more and be able to focus yourself and motivate yourself, right? So my point is that you're going to need a lot of money. So you're going to need probably enough money from a business, and you're going to need to invest in real estate. You're going to probably need to do both those things. And the reason why you need the real estate is because you need to compound that money, right? And so I know I'm getting a little bit away from the main question of the email, but I want to give you a real in-depth answer here so you can really weigh these things out, because this is a really important decision to make and you really have to think about these things, okay? So the point is that if you take this first path, then you have to really, build a business. You're making money from your job, you're investing that in real estate, and it's going to take you anywhere from, let's say, on average, if you start out on this journey, 10 to 15 years. Now, could it be done in 5? Could it be done in 7? Yes, but we're talking about guaranteed path. So if you're willing to commit to this guaranteed path, worst case scenario, in 15 years, you can become financially free and never have to work again. So if you're 20 right now and you're listening to this, you could be by 35, worst case scenario. If you're 30, it would be by 45, worst case scenario. Okay, that still gives you enough time to enjoy life and enjoy the money, even if you're 30. If you're in your 40s or 50s, if you've got some money already, I'm not saying it's, it might not take you 15 years. If you're starting from ground zero and you're at 40 or 50 already, well, you're in trouble. You better, hopefully you've got a lot of skills that you can capitalize on to build a business quickly and make a lot of money, right? Because this is just a reality. This is just the truth of the way that the world works, the economic system, okay? So you really have to think about that. And when you think about that, it's like, is it worth the grind, right? For me, I was given the opportunity. I was doing a lot of things, right? But I was given this opportunity to do these courses for this company called Pluralsight back in the day, all right? And I knew, because what happened was when I did the first Android course that they had, this was when Android was first coming out, and I did this course and I got paid, I think, like $5,000 to do this course. And then I got a royalty check 3 months later from the course, and that was like $6,000 or $5,000 or $6,000. And I was like, wow, I'm going to continue getting these checks. If I keep on making these courses, I can get to a point where I'm never going to have to work again. I can be totally financially free. And so I sat down for the next 2.5, 3 years, and I busted ass like you wouldn't believe. I mean, I had no friends. I had no recreation. All that I did was I literally woke up in the morning, and at one point I had a regular job. And so I'd wake up, I would go either run or go to the gym. I would do my regular job. And then I would, after I came home, I would spend a little bit of time with eating dinner, very short amount of time with family. And then I would work for the next 4 hours into the night. And I would do that every single weekday. And on the weekends, I would spend 8 to 10 hours working. All right. But I did this for basically 3 years. So the first year and a half or so, I had a regular job, and then I ended up quitting that job. And then I spent the next year and a half working like a dog on my own terms, just in the business. And I was doing some other things. I had my blog. I had, some other business stuff as well. But I knew that if I did this and I grinded this out for 3 years, because I had this opportunity, I'd be financially free for the rest of my life. And I am. All right, it worked. I made millions of dollars during that time by doing that, and kept collecting checks until I ran my mouth on Twitter and got canceled, and that's another story. But the point of this, the reason why I'm telling you this, is because it is worth it to grind to have that forever so that you are financially free. Once you hit that point of financial freedom, I call it unmortgaging your life, you never have to worry about that again. Okay, now you can put yourself in a bad position, that's true, but you have at least a base income that you don't have to worry about again. And so that is probably worth it. Now there's a second path, okay? And we'll kind of pull this all apart and then we'll put it all together. The second path is like Asmongold, right? Which is you just start doing shit that you love doing. All right? And there's a lot of risk in this path because there's a lot of starving artists, right? You know history. You know what's his name? Van Gogh and so many people who were brilliant artists, brilliant creators, and did not get paid in their time, but were later recognized. They were poor and starving. And there's plenty of people right now that musicians and actors and whatnot who they're not going to make money and they're never going to become financially free, but they're doing what they love doing. And hopefully they haven't lost track of that, trying to make it big, but they continue to do what they love doing. And so their life is kind of awesome. They're getting enough money to get by. But some of those people become like Asmongold and they become wildly successful doing what they love to do. And in fact, you could almost argue that sometimes the people that can just do what they love to do and forget about the money and forget about the grind, that they actually become the most successful. Right? Now, this is a different thing than like doing whatever you want to do, playing video games and running, and whatever, and doing stuff like that, or picking up girls, okay? Because this is like doing what you love doing that's creating value for people or that you're sharing to the world or that, again, there's no guarantee of this. You're creating your art. You're essentially creating your art. And you look at Asmongold, right? And you might say, well, this guy's just playing video games and living like a slob and he doesn't care about... No, he's creating his art. I've listened to plenty of his YouTube videos. The dude, he's smart. He understands human nature. He's a very thoughtful guy. He's funny. There's a reason why he's so popular, but he is creating his art. It is his art, right? That is his art. So that's kind of the second path, is to be the artist, right? And there's also this sort of conflict between the entrepreneur and the artist. I've talked about this several times in different videos. And, the artist, he wants to just create and just do the thing because it's enjoyable. And the entrepreneur, he just wants to make money, right? And I fought this battle myself. That's why I did that video. You can watch it on why marketing is bullshit. I'm tired of this. I'm done with this. And I said, you know what? The entrepreneur, he's going to be 10% and 90% is going to be the artist at this point. And that's what I'm doing right now. Like, this video is literally the artist, right? There's no editing on this video. I'm just saying what I want to say. And hey, not a lot of people are going to watch this. I'm not saying, I talked about the Well That Never Runs Dry program. Again, that's the 10%. That's the entrepreneur. That's like, okay, but it's also the artist too, because I want to get guys into the program so I can do the art that I do by teaching them how to become financially free, because I like doing that. I like coaching. I'm a good coach. That's what I enjoy doing, right? I kick people's asses, all right? So we're kind of coming back to this. You have those kind of two paths, and you have sort of hybrids of those paths. But if you choose to go down the grind route, it's more guaranteed, right? But you're going to have to work really, really hard, and you might not like it, and that's where you're gonna have to just love the grind, learn to love the grind, just bust ass for a long time. And it's not just working hard, but you also have to do the right thing, and you have to get a little bit lucky. You don't have to get a lot lucky, but a little bit lucky, right? And over time, the luck sort of gets taken out of the equation, because if you give yourself 15 years and you're doing the plan that I put forth, I can give you a plan, like I said, where in 15 years you will become financially free, right? All you have to do is follow it. There's no way that you can screw this up. It's hard though, because you'll have to work hard and you'll have to grind, and it's a hard grind. So, you know what I'm saying? So you got to kind of pick your poison there, right? But then we get to kind of the philosophical idea of like, well, what happens after you retire? And, should you even play the game at all? What if you just did what you want to do? Like Asmongold, right? That kind of idea is like, well, first let me address what you should do after retire. What would you do? Well, hey, I retired at 33. Quote, retired, right? I became financially free. And my aspiration during that whole time when I was getting to that point was to play video games and sip Mai Tais on the beach, right? That's literally what I do. I really want to mostly just play video games. That's mostly what I want to do. I want to have my time, be able to do what I want with it. And, I've had that since 33, but I haven't even utilized it at all. I mean, not at all, but not to that degree. When I first became financially free, I went to Hawaii. I lived there for 2 months. I played video games and I was just, I got miserable. I got really depressed because I was like, is that all there is to life? Like I couldn't enjoy it. And part of it was because I broke myself becoming a machine, honestly, right? Because I got to a point where I didn't have any passions anymore. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I mean, I worked my butt off for a long time. It was more than just those 3 years of hustle. Like I was still working my butt off before then. And I didn't, if you ask me what my hobbies were, I ran, that's where I started to get interested in Stoic philosophy. I was like, my hobby was beating myself up, like physically, like being hard on myself. That was my hobby, was like doing stuff that I didn't like doing. That became my hobby. It became my mantra, right? So I got to a place where I was kind of broken and I couldn't really enjoy it anyway, right? And what I realized though was that, there's different lenses to look at this, because I've done some other videos talking about this from a different lens. But essentially, one way of looking at it is to say that I got to this point where it's like it wasn't fulfilling, right? Like I reached this goal and I thought I was going to be happy by reaching the goal, but that journey to the goal was actually the thing that I missed. It was actually the come up was the fun part of it, right? Even though it didn't feel fun, it felt like that grind. So there's that, right? There's this idea. And so what I realized from that was like, look, it's not about setting goals to get something. It's about setting goals to become something. And I started making goals to become something. And that actually took me further. And in the last 10 years or so, I've been on that path, but I also hit the end of that path. And that starts to get scary, because what happens when you've become essentially all that you can become? And I don't mean that you can't ever get higher. What I'm saying is that you've hit the thing, all right? At the point when I became a guy that was now confident, that had success with women, that had money, that had an awesome physique, that ran marathons, that ran ultra marathons. What more did I want to become? Nothing. So then I got into another existential crisis, which is the one I'm in now. Sort of. I'm figuring it out, but that's kind of where this is going. Okay. So what I would say about like, what do you do when you actually finally hit that retirement, is that you're not going to retire. You're going to pick something to do, some passion, some purpose, some mission to do, just like now, right? Just like now, what am I doing? And I've flirted with this, for example, but what I really should have been doing and what I am doing now is just, I like recording videos. I like teaching people. I like coaching. I like learning things, absorbing information, sharing that information, having debates. And, I like philosophy. I like intellectualism. I like doing those things, right? I like pushing myself and experimenting on myself. I like those. So those are the things, instead of thinking that you're going to do one specific thing. And yeah, sure, I like playing video games. I played Elden Ring, but I got kind of sick of it after I beat it, and I realized, I don't know. I don't really have an appeal. I could go and play a video game right now, but I'd rather play the game of life. I'd rather experiment and learn things. I don't have time, and I'm still running this business and I'm still doing things. And, there's a part of me, there's honestly a part of me that says, what if you just did nothing? What if you didn't worry about any kind of business at all, and maybe you just chilled for a while, or maybe you just like played some guitar, or just like woke up in the morning and did whatever you wanted to do for that day. And I would like to explore that, except that if you do that, you kind of lose everything, right? So I've kind of built this empire. I've kind of built these things. If I stop making videos, if I stop doing these things, I don't, there's a bit of fear into that. But I don't really think that that's the answer, to be honest with you. I don't think. Maybe for a short term, maybe, I've taken some little mini sabbaticals of sorts, never a full sabbatical, but I don't really think that's the answer anyway. So, getting to the answer to your question, what should you do, is you're going to have to figure out something else to do. It's not going to be playing video games and doing all this kind of stuff, because, yeah, maybe you could spend a year just doing kind of fun stuff that you enjoy doing, maybe 2 years, I don't know. But you're not really going to continue to enjoy that. You're going to need some kind of mission or some kind of purpose. A man has to have a mission in life, right? And so you would hopefully find some kind of mission, and hopefully what you would have the freedom. See, the thing that I have now, and I mostly have now, but I'm trying to recognize that I have this now, because people tell me I have this, but I told you guys in one of my other videos, I've got some bills. I got an expensive mortgage. I got to pay some child support. I've got some things that, that it's not that my passive income doesn't 100% cover right now. It could, like I could live somewhere else and not live in this house and cover those things. So and I'm also very financially conservative. If you haven't noticed, you might think that's not the case, but my point is that, you know, I could do those things if I wanted to, and but is it really what you really want to do? Well, actually, sorry, I got a little bit off track there. But what I mean by this is that what I should be doing is just doing the art, just doing the art. Don't worry about the money, just do the art, right? And that's where I'm moving, right? I'm moving more in that direction, where I would say it's going to be 90% doing the art and 10% entrepreneurship. Okay, 10% of the entrepreneur, 90% of the artist. And so that's it. And that's what I would recommend that you do, honestly. It's like, if you got to a point, now I sort of made some mistakes, so you can learn from my mistakes, is that I got to a point of financial freedom, and instead of just going the artist route there and enjoying, because you can enjoy life and make money at the same time if you go the artist, where it's like 90% artist and 10% entrepreneur. Okay, and you have the passive income, because then you can sort of, you have this freedom because you know you have a safety net. So you can do whatever you want to do. And you know that you've got money coming in no matter what. So you can experiment with things. You can have fun. You can take bigger risks, right? With business. And so, and that's what I should be doing right now. And I'm trying to do more of that, like I said. But that's what, if I were to go back and change a few things with that, as soon as I became financially free, I would make it so that all my basic living costs are covered by the passive income. And then I wouldn't rely on any kind of business income at all. And then I would create the business or work in the business and just have fun. Just make sure that what I'm doing in the business, I enjoy doing, and I don't need it to make any money. And then by doing that, it would probably make a lot more money. And I think the path I'm going down will eventually actually make me way more successful, because I got stuck where I was. I could only, like I said, I hit maybe a cap of $1 million something a year with Bulldog Mindset because of the road that I went down. So yeah, so there's that. Okay. And then I think there's one more thread to this whole thing, which is kind of the other alternative, which is like, what if you just lived your life and just enjoyed your life? What if you stopped doing the grind? What if you just continued working your job, you just make enough money, and you either just you got to do something, right? Because it's like, if you said, well, I'm just going to kind of do whatever I want to do and couch surf and stuff like that, it would be a stressful life. You'd be kind of maybe living on the streets. Like, you can't really realistically do that. I mean, you could get to a point of sustenance where you work really hard and grind and get to a point where you have a little bit of passive income and you just live off that little bit of passive income. But man, it's probably not going to be worth it for that. You probably should just go a little bit further and work a little bit harder if you've done that much, just to get to a point where you have a decent amount. But let's say that you just said, all right, I'm just going to work the job, forget about the grinding. I'm going to just enjoy my life, do the things I want to do now while I'm living my life, and I'm not going to try and become financially free or any of that stuff. I think that's an acceptable choice. It's not one for me, because I feel like the only problem with that is you're missing out on some of the big things in life. Do you want to go and travel the world for a year? Do you want to be able to do some of the big things that you can't do when you have to work a 9-to-5 job and you have to wait until you're 65 and a half to retire or whatever? It just, no, I don't like that path. I just don't like it at all. I'd rather hustle and grind really hard, or I'd rather be a starving artist where I'm just making enough money to survive in my business, than to go the path of just being the corporate junkie forever, right? Until you finally get old enough, right? And so, but here's the thing, okay? This is the coming together of this whole thing. I didn't mean this video to be so long. I thought this was gonna be a boring topic, and yeah, maybe it is, but anyway, it's interesting to me. So here's the thing about this whole thing, and this is really the ultimate answer to this. And believe me, I try to practice this, but I haven't been as good at it as I should be. But I know it, all right? And you know the answer. When I tell you it, you'll know what it is already. You'll say, oh yeah, that's it. But the answer is this: is that it doesn't really matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you retire young. It doesn't matter if you retire old. It doesn't matter if you work for yourself. It doesn't matter if you work for someone else. It doesn't matter if you have a lot of money. It doesn't matter if you have a little money. It doesn't matter if you are an actor or a movie star or you're a janitor. What matters is that you enjoy, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. And I've talked about this before, but if you're waiting for some day to come, if that's what it's going to require for you to be happy and to enjoy your life for some event, some woman, some job, some amount of money, some time in the future when you have freedom, if you're waiting for these things in order for you to be happy and to really enjoy your life, well, first of all, you could die, okay? But second of all, it's never going to come, because every time that I have waited for this bus, all right, and first the bus was a physical bus of physical manifestations of money, of women, of all these things. Every time I've waited for this bus, it's been disappointing, okay? And the second bus, it was a bus of personal growth, okay? I was like, okay, surely the bus of personal growth is better than the bus of materialistic things, right? I mean, hey, I'll be cool when I can run an ultra marathon, right? No, it was even more disappointing because I was like, there's nothing left. Shit, what do I do now? What bus am I waiting for now? And I mean, now the bus is the real bus. It's the God bus, the eternal consciousness awareness bus. But even that one, I realized that what happens when you get on that bus? That they basically just tell you, you've been on this bus the whole time, buddy. you didn't need to catch any other buses. You're already on this bus. You were born on this bus. You already were there. You're already there. You didn't need to do anything at all. And that's the illusion. That's the funny thing. It's like, I know it. You don't need to do anything. You're already there. You already have the ability to enjoy the present moment, to enjoy your life, to enjoy the experience. I mean, you're watching a movie that is your life that's unfolding. And you're kind of like, well, I mean, the movie will only be good when the hero of the movie gets his Lamborghini and bangs a hot chick. No, that's not when the movie is good, because you're anticipating that he's going to do that, or he has a struggle in order to do that he's overcoming that thing. You're watching this movie that is your life. And so you can wait or try to fast forward to the good part there's a really good movie, actually, Adam Sandler, Click, where he's got this remote and he's fast forwarding through life. And that movie hit me hard, even though it's a funny movie. But the point is, and the real answer here, is that it really doesn't matter any of those things. It really just matters that whatever you're doing right now, and this applies to me, right? In this moment, as I'm recording this video, I could be thinking about, oh man, this video is going too long, and is this video even going to get enough views? And there's a bunch of work I should be doing, and all those things, and I just need to get this thing done, and I need to make videos for tomorrow. I can think all that stuff, right? And I have. But I could also think, wow, okay, I'm right here. I'm in this moment. No moment will be better than this moment right now, as I'm just talking to the camera and doing this work and doing this thing. And it doesn't matter if you're mopping the floor, if you're making a video, if you're an astronaut in space, right? It seems like some of those things would be more appealing. And yeah, I mean, if we have a choice, we prefer one thing over the other. Pleasurable things are usually better than things that cause us pain. But the suffering is a choice. And we choose to suffer when we have an attachment to something that can be taken from us, or that, right? Because even if we don't have it, we suffer. And if we do have it, we suffer because we're afraid of losing it. So either way, we suffer. And so the real answer is to let go of the attachment, to let go of the expectation of the outcome, to just be, to just enjoy life. And it doesn't mean that you don't have goals or ambitions. It doesn't mean that you don't try these things. It doesn't even mean that you don't go after financial freedom and retiring young. I think that is a thing that most people should honestly go after. But it just means in the pursuit of that, you don't lose track of the idea that this is all part of the fun game, right? One of my good friends today, Josh Hudson, he was talking about this. In fact, he mentioned that we had a conversation in his story on Instagram. He said that he thinks of life as a game. And the more and more that I think about that, the more I find that to be true. This is a fun game that I'm playing right now. And when I lose, it's fun. When I win, it's fun, right? When I'm grinding, that's fun, because it's a game. I've chosen to play this game, right? I mean, some people would say that I haven't chosen, but I think that my soul chose to be here in this moment doing this thing. So have fun, play the game. I'll see you tomorrow.